What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here at GSD Studios. First off, thank you so much for checking out today's content. I'll make this extremely fast, but I need to plug our sponsors that make this show possible. Our first sponsor is PerfectStormNow.com, by far the most effective and affordable real estate agent website and database platform in the industry. It is the system I use to sell 50 plus homes every single month. Check it out at www.perfectstormnow.com. Our second sponsor is my personal real estate agent mentorship program, www.90daymastery.com. Get the entire program for only $997 with promo code LIVEMASTERY. All caps, all one word, all together. Learn more at www.90daymastery.com. See what the program's all about. See live testimonials, how real estate agents have changed their life. All right, you guys, let's dive on into today's content. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD mode interview, where every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses that go out there and dominate their spaces, or people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create great, amazing, epic lives while they exist on this planet, as well as have a big impact on others. So today, you guys, we had a very special guest on the show. This is a serial entrepreneur, dude that's having a lot of success. Didn't necessarily start off in the entrepreneurial world like so many entrepreneurs. Kind of took that corporate path and then decided that path wasn't for them. They wanted more and jumped into this entrepreneur journey. So our guest today is a serial entrepreneur. He owns in the restaurant industry, owns his own Tequila Company and more. So really stoked and honored to have Blake Landis on the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, brother. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for having me on. It's an absolute honor. And thanks for taking the time to listen to all the listeners. Our free time is sacred, so thanks for sharing some of that with us today. I guess we can just dive right into it.
I'm stoked, man. I know that we've got several mutual friends, man. I've just heard a lot of amazing things about you. I know you got a lot of amazing things going on today, but I'm always really intrigued in our guest journey that really led them to where they're at today, that led you into the entrepreneurship world. So I know, you kind of followed that traditional path that we're so conditioned to follow these days, right? It's like you get done with high school, you go to college, you get that 9 to 5, you pay bills, you exist to pay bills and die, and then boom. And I know that wasn't for you. So kind of walk us through what your path was, dude, that really led you to where you are today.
Okay, yeah. So, like you said, kind of followed that path straight into college. Grew up in Southern California, ended up going to school at UCSB, which was an awesome experience. But a lot of my friends, junior and senior year, were really lining up, investment banking jobs and finance jobs and things that were really serious career paths. And none of that was resonating with me. And I thought about going back to school right away, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Even after 4 years, I was like, where are the answers? Like, now what? I learned some things, but what do I want to do? And I got a desk job doing some sales, some in-house sales. And again, it just didn't seem like where I wanted to be. And I decided I was going to go traveling. So I was going to go travel through South America, and my friends that had the finance jobs had let their jobs know, hey, we're going to be taking, a few months off. And it was all kind of working out well. They were offered their jobs back when they came back. And I remember the people in my office, when I told them, the look of fear in their eyes, like, wait, you're going to leave this job? Like, what are you going to do when you come back? And I remember just thinking, I'm making the right decision, because I don't want to be 15 years down the road in their shoes, scared of somebody telling me that they're going to go on the trip of a lifetime. So I ended up actually leaving the company even a little early, and I waited tables, doing doubles twice a day, crashed on my folks' couch, and saved up even more money just doing that than I had been making doing the sales job. And then when I came back, I had one more sales job, one more attempt at getting back into the corporate world, where I was doing in-house sales, and it lasted about a week. And the universe was just telling me no. I was lining up a job with Quicksilver, and my friend who was working there just said, hey, get a job doing this position anywhere so that I can show them that you're doing this right now, and we'll set you up. And so, boom, got it. 2 weeks later, he shoots me a text Quicksilver's laying off 75% of their workforce worldwide. Put in my notice, done. Went back to the bartending world and was figured, I'll figure it out from here. And that was when I was really doing some soul searching. My sister was in law school. I thought, okay, I'm going to study, take the LSAT. I'm going to go to law school. And I took a job off of Craigslist in Santa Monica because I was tired of driving my motorcycle through crazy traffic to get to Hollywood, where I was currently bartending. And little did I know, I was about to have a massive shift in my life. On the first day of work, I met a kid named Hernan Fernando, and he could speak a little bit of English. My Spanish was right about the same. And we were the only two guys that were hired because one of the owners was a chauvinist prick. And so we kind of just went up to each other and were like, all right, man, like, I'm going to teach you English and you're going to teach me Spanish. It's like, okay, perfect. Because we were on the schedule 5 days a week together. Cool. All right. See you Monday on our first day. And on our first day, for about an 8-hour shift, we managed to have one conversation because, it's like we're looking words up. We had a little electronic translator. And what he managed to tell me was why he was in the country. And that reason was that this kid from a small town in Oaxaca, no running water, no electricity on the ranch that he grew up on. He had managed to get to school in Mexico City. He was studying to become an engineer. He had a job. He had an apartment. He had a lot of friends. He had built this life in one of the biggest cities in the world, coming from essentially nothing. And one day he gets a call from his brother, and his brother said, hey, I just want to let you know, Dad left Mom with nothing but a bunch of debt. You're smart. I want you to stay in school. Don't worry. I'm going to take care of Mom. I'm entering a rodeo this weekend and I'm going to win some money. We'll be okay for a while. Gets a call 3 days later. A bull flipped on his leg in the rodeo. Not only did he not win any money, now he can't even work. So like that, boom, Hernan just drops everything, sells everything he owns, puts in his notice at work, drops out of school, comes home to see the family for 3 days, pays a coyote to come across the border. He starts washing dishes twice a day, 7 days a week. And I met him 2 years into that process. And when he showed up, he didn't know hardly any English. He makes fun of himself for being a bit lazy in school when he was younger about it. Never thought he would need it. And so he told me that story. And when he finished telling me that, I mean, I get chills all over my body every time I think about it. It just shifted my perception of reality. It was boom, wake up. Oh, poor. I'm just thinking anytime I ever felt bad or sorry for myself, oh, poor me. I went to college in Santa Barbara and, partied my ass off and had fun. And I don't know what I want to do. And here's this kid who gave up his college experience, working one of the worst jobs you can do. They're just people just treating him like total shit, piling plates on in these big restaurants. And he's just washing them away and sending all of his money home. And it was just, this was selflessness. I was looking selflessness and love straight in the face. And immediately I just wanted to take care of the kid. It was like this brotherly, immediate love where like, I wanted to take him under my wing, even though he's the last person you'd ever have to protect. He's so tough. And I said, hey, how do you say we're going to own a bar together one day? And that's what we did. We printed out little credit card receipts and we'd write little phrases on it. And that was kind of our way to learn. And that day he taught me how to say that one day soon. It's algún día no muy lejano. And about 7 years later, when we were kind of down in the dumps trying to find our first spot for our first restaurant, this came fluttering out of my closet. See if you can see it, but that's it. You can still see the little stabber mark from where we pulled it off of the thing from the credit card receipts. And, that moment was a massive shift. And so we spent the next 7 years just putting our heads down and working and saving money. And we were going to reunite the family. And, his youngest brother came over and more family started coming over. His sister's now over here and we got Cinco. We got Cinco going. It was a Thai restaurant for 40 years. I found it on Craigslist also. And same thing. I was on like another crossroads. We had lost out on a couple of places because we had tons of bartending experience and running people's places, but we didn't have our own place yet. So they were like, oh, well, you don't have the experience, we're going to give it to these guys. It's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Like, how do you make it happen, And so I was literally looking at trips to Bali to just drop out I was in a bad relationship. I needed to get away from that. I just found out that the bar we were currently working at had ripped me off for 20 grand, selling me fake percentages of that they didn't have to sell. And I was just like, fuck, man. So I'm looking at trips to Bali. I'm going to cut out for a minute, reset. And then I thought, well, I'm going to look one more time on Craigslist right now, just see what's there. And boom, this little spot comes up, Siam Thai. And I thought, well, it's in Playa del Rey. It's kind of this little bit of town that at the time was forgotten. I got on my motorcycle, rode over there. And the minute I got off my bike, I got the chills. And I was like, this is it. Called my best friend who was had just gotten his professional master's of science, his PMS. I love that. He was doing research science at UCSB where we had met, where we were random assignment roommates. I told him, this is it. I can tell we're going to have a bar here. And I told him we had a meeting 3 days later with the real estate agent. And 3 days later, he showed up at the meeting. He had quit his job and put in his notice in his place. And he's like, I want in. So at that point, we went from 4 bartenders to 5. And so that's why we're Cinco, which has always been a powerful number in my life, and only made sense that it kind of is all playing out that way. And Cinco is our physical manifestation of the friendship that we created and the bond we've created through his family from Oaxaca and our American family. And it's the blending of those cultures. And in so many ways, that's what California and Los Angeles represents anyways. This was Mexico at one time. And there's so much Mexican and Latin culture in California and in Los Angeles. And it is blending with the American values, and it does it in a really beautiful way. And so that's what we wanted to represent. We wanted to have all the cocktails that we'd been making in all the bars we'd run, and all the craft beers that we'd been drinking and trying to make at home and pouring. And at the end of the night, when we were getting off these bartending shifts, we were going to taco trucks, because that's where Nan said some of the best food was in LA. We'd ride our motorcycles, streets are empty. It's 4 a.m. We're getting tacos, bonding. We thought, okay, well, we'll have all that, and then we'll have the taco truck in the kitchen. And day 2, first 3 days were massive, insane. It was just such a blessing. Bless all of you who came, if anybody's listening. We ran out of food every night, and they were like, where's the rest of the menu? Like, just tacos and burritos, like, we want more. And so we had to do a distress call to Zoila, who's Hernan's mom. And so half of the menu is called Platos de Zoila. And it's just all of her recipes that she sent us to bail us out from not being prepared enough. And it was great. It was a really, obviously, an amazing learning experience. And something that really sticks out in my mind from that time was we had run out of money. We didn't raise enough. I was over $110,000 in credit card debt, my own personal credit cards. City kept setting us back, giving us, the plumbing needs to be changed. The plumbing inspector was just screwing us, to the point where we thought maybe somebody in the neighborhood was trying to hold us back from opening. And fire department came in. They're like, yeah, you're good to go. You just have to get this emergency shutoff valve. We're like, sweet, how much is it? It was $7,000. So now my Harley got sold. My Harley is a little tiny red box outside of the restaurant. And the ironic thing is, the only time it's ever actually had to shut off was when a bunch of Harleys came into the parking lot and rumbled it so hard that it shut the gas off. So that was just the universe like winking at me, like, yeah. You get that? But so we had just done that, sold my motorcycle. I was literally had my truck listed on Craigslist because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make my mortgage. And Hernan's mom WhatsApped him. And Zoila said, Hernan, estamos vivos. Y eso ya es una victoria. We're alive. And that's already a victory. And then she said, y sabes que, you know what? Hubiera no existe. I could have, or I would have, doesn't exist. It was her very poetic and powerful motherly way of saying, hey, this is it. Man up. You're doing it. You're taking the chance, and you're doing what you've always wanted to do. And it filled me with so much energy at the time, and it still fills me with so much energy. And we did it. We got open, and we've never looked back. We've been open for 4.5 years, and we continue to grow and try to get better. And we're working with local farmers now and trying to get as much organic product as we can in there. And in that process of pouring so much love and everything that we'd ever wanted to do into this restaurant, and to create a product that we believe in, and create a service that we feel like we can stand up and stand behind, I realized one night as we were moving just these giant trash cans of empty bottles, like, man, we're just like constantly hustling the next tequila that we can get the good deal on, so that we can have something good to serve. But then the more research I was doing, the more I was finding out that these bigger brands are using additives that they shouldn't be adding, and they're adding glycerol, which is a natural plant sugar, but they're adding it to cover shortcuts that they're taking in the distillation process. And to find that out after 10 years of like championing these brands, hey, this is great tequila, and pouring it and believing in it, it was really disappointing. And I thought to myself, man, why don't we just do this ourselves so that we can really know what we're serving? And that was kind of it. We put all of our favorite tequilas on the bar, and we realized that all of them except for one were from the highlands of Jalisco, as opposed to the lowlands and the valley. Fortaleza was the only one that wasn't from the highlands. So we thought, okay, we're going to focus on this area. And we were lucky and blessed enough to have a connection to Tomas Estes via one of our investors. And Tomas owns one of our favorite tequilas, one of the best in the entire world, Tequila Ocho. And to give you an idea who Tomas is, he opened a taqueria in Amsterdam in the 70s. He's amazing. He's in his 80s, I think now. He still remembers everybody's name. He's sharp. He's just awesome. And, when he finds out that somebody wants to create another brand from the same area as his tequila, does he freak out and want to protect his product? No. What does he do? He gives us a list of 5 names and, hey, contact these people. They'll help you. And we wrote them letters for a while and made some calls. We weren't hearing anything back. So one night I just got drunk and I wrote my heart out in an email in Spanish. And one guy wrote back. Then we had a Skype. He's like, okay, come down. And then we come down, and Hernan couldn't come yet because he doesn't have a travel visa yet. We're still working on making him legal. And so all the pressure was on me. We're in this big boardroom, hour-long, all Spanish interview. Why do you want to do this? I'm explaining myself. And at the end of it in English, he looks at me and he goes, 3 years ago, my brother and I decided to stop working with Americans. And then and I'm like, what we came all the way down here to hear no? And then he just bursts out laughing, and he's like, something in your email caught my attention, and now I know why. And from there, it was just like, boom, immediate brothers. He took us all over the highlands, which is just this amazing, really powerful spiritual place where everybody loves what they do. To give you an example of that day when we were driving around, we were going from distillery to distillery, and those are called noms out there. It's the name of like a distillery and where they're making products. We tried all this tequila. We've got like a great buzz going, and I see Humidor's working out in the fields harvesting agave. He just slams on his brakes. He's like, go out there. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, go. So we hop this barbed wire fence. We go out there. I look at this guy standing on this tractor, just pulling this giant container full of agave. And I'm like, hey man, like we're bartenders and we love tequila and we want to see how it's made. And he's like, vámonos. So we get on the tractor with them and we go around and we harvest agave with these guys for a good 2 hours. They're showing us how to use the koa, which is kind of this medieval spade looking blade. And these plants that are growing 8 to 10 years to mature to full, their full potential to create tequila come out in boom, 30 seconds. And these guys are so skilled with that thing. And then they're taking our phones and they're taking selfies and they're saying, hey, put this on Facebook. And one guy looks at me and he goes, and you tell them that we love what we do. And that just meant so much to me, to know that really every step of the way down there, everybody loves what they do, whether it's the guys working in the fields or the guys who own the fields, the guys who are planting the agave, the tequila maestros who are making the tequila, the people that put the labels on our bottle. It's an after school job for a bunch of high school kids. They're in there blasting music. They've got their hairnets on and their rubber gloves on. And we walked in and they were like, kind of like, oh, like they caught us. And I was like, oh no, like, let's keep this going. Like turn the music back up. And it was just awesome. And I believe that has a lot to do with the quality of products. When people say, oh, the food's great because there's so much love put into it. I think that, on a simple level, like, yeah, the intention is there, but I think it goes even further beyond that. Are you familiar with cymatics?
No.
So I can send you some links after this if people want to check these little sites out where I kind of learned about this stuff. But essentially, cymatics, they'll hook up a tuning fork or a speaker to a metal plate or something that's going to conduct vibration, and then they'll play different tunes or sounds, and with a light sand or salt on there, and it just goes boom, turns into a mandala. And they change the tune, boom, changes it, it shifts. It's crazy. It's amazing and it's beautiful. And it's so obvious as to why we like music, because our bodies, which are we're 98% water, we're vibrating just the way the sand looks as we're putting these tunes into it. And so then I went on and I read about this guy, I think I'm butchering his name. I need to like have somebody who knows how to say it tell me, but Masuro Emoto, I think is how you say it. And he learned about cymatics and then thought, well, what if we freeze water while we're playing the tune and look at the crystals? And sure enough, he plays Mozart, he plays Bach, he plays Beethoven, and the shapes are different and they're beautiful. Then he goes beyond that and he just says the word love to water on a recording over and over, and that creates a certain pattern. And then he says hateful words to water and the crystals malform. Crazy. Then he goes even beyond that. He just writes love on a sample and writes hate on a sample, writes Adolf Hitler on a sample. And the dark energies create malformed crystals, whereas the light create these beautiful symmetrical geometric patterns. And when I found out about that, I just thought, I'm all about this. So when our first shipment showed up to our warehouse, I immediately started blasting some of my favorite DJ sets to all the bottles. I was burning sage in there, Palo Santo. When I'd go to pick up the bottles, because I was doing a lot of all the delivering myself for the first year. Dance party every time. I talk to the bottles, we're going to infuse these things with love. And our intention is that these bottles will never be used to escape, because alcohol is an easy tool for people to escape or run or hide or try to forget. Don't want that to ever happen. And so one of our mantras is drink to remember who you are, drink to remember a good time, commemorate, celebrate, honor somebody, be in the moment, be present. And we try to infuse every single bottle with that love and those messages. And I honestly think that just by sending mental messages to, I'm looking at the bottle over here, so I keep looking. I think that we can do it. And that's one of our, I guess, part of the ethos of our company, you might say. And I can nerd out and talk about distillation, but it's kind of just the science of it. I don't know if you want me to, I can, but it's just an old school style Highlands tequila. The agave are 8 years old. They grow in the Aceves family's fields. They're 5th generation growers, another 5, not a coincidence. In this generation, they are 5, and their youngest brother was really smart and a bit of an introvert. And the 2 older brothers, a lawyer and a businessman, thought, what if we send Alvaro to become a tequila maestro so that in this generation, we can go all the way from the ground to the bottle? And we met them, I guess, 2 years after he started working full time as a tequila engineer. And it was just perfect synchronicity. The 2 older brothers had also just gone through Landmark Forum because of one of the brothers' law firms had them do it. And when they went together thinking it was going to be awful and, hey, you've got to come with me, this is going to be terrible, I got to go do this thing, and it changed their lives. And so then when we're in the Highlands and we're bonding and we're talking about the possibilities of building a brand, and I'm sharing with them why I'd want to do it, how I think we can recreate and reinvent what it is to be an owner, what it is to work with, have a working relationship between Mexico and the United States. We can reinvent all of this. And when you have a brand, you have that power. And we bonded on that level because they had gotten there through Landmark Forum, and I arrived to that place just because ever since I've been down on this planet, I've always wanted to help people. I've always felt best when I'm able to make people feel better about themselves. And so that's really where the Aceves family and us, where it goes so much further beyond us having a business together and like, hey, let's sell a bunch of tequila. It's a brotherhood, and it's a bridge and a physical manifestation and an example of how we can be doing it better in a time when a lot of things are not running so smoothly between Mexico and the United States. And when we're talking about racial lines and color lines and all of these things, this is an example of how none of that shit matters. Yeah. You can be above it. And so in that way, we try to lead by example. Something that a philosophy that I've been trying to follow for the last 5 to 6 years is it's a Socrates quote, and it's: the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So rather than sit around and protest and try to convince some older bigoted minds of how they're wrong, we just do it right. And if we're successful and we're able to grow a brand and we have something that the Western world deems as desirable, whether that's, economic success or, a lot of friends or, how you're known in the community. All of a sudden people will look at you and you have a validated voice. You're not just a person standing on a soapbox in the middle of a crowded intersection trying to scream about your values. So that's one of our biggest goals and one of my biggest goals for the company. A little note of success last year, thanks to having the tequila in Mexico and Cinco in LA in the United States, we were able to convince the US Embassy to grant Hernan a travel visa for the first time in 12 years. So that was probably it's probably the proudest moment of my life thus far. I'm about to have a son, but that selfie of him holding the phone and the whole family in a rented Ford Econoline picking him up, like that was it. We did it. It took a long time, but we managed to make it happen. And I just found out 3 days ago that we're about 85% on getting Zoila a travel visa to come here for the first time ever. And that will be all over Facebook and all over social media. So I'll make sure I send links to that stuff, because we are going to throw down a party for her, because she's the heart and soul of everything, if you distill it all the way down to the bottom of what this is and what we all are, it was a love for a son for his mother and vice versa. And that's why all of this exists. And that's beautiful. If at the end of the day, what you can boil what you do down to love, then you're doing something right.
Yeah. Well, it's so powerful too, dude. Because you guys have just had one gnarly, insane journey, right, to get to where you are. And if you didn't have that why or that purpose, most people just break in those situations, right? So it becomes so powerful. So then, dude, when it comes to, okay, so you got Cinco, you got the tequila now that you're doing. When it comes then to what's the next step from there? Have you guys been now distributing the tequila? Is it just something that you've been using in your own restaurant, or now you're distributing it throughout the country? What does that look like, and how is your model then expanded?
So starting an alcohol brand in California, we're really fortunate in that you can create your own importing company and your own distribution company if you only have one product. In other states, you would have to go through a distributor. So we were able to start Angelino Spirits and Angelito Distribution Company, and we imported it. I got a Ford Econoline. I'm driving it around myself. And having bartended in LA for 10 years, we had managed to make a lot of friends and had a lot of connections and people that supported us, and they were huge and integral in those first few steps of getting out there. And obviously, Cinco is a massive launch pad for the brand. We go through a ton of tequila, and there's 2 colleges right by us, LMU and Otis School of Design. So there's a lot of young new drinkers coming in, and we're able to, educate them like, hey, don't just drink Cuervo Gold because it's the cheapest thing. The reason we made this, we wanted to make a product where we put as much money into the bottle rather than what's inside the bottle rather than the bottle itself. A lot of brands spend 15 times on the actual bottle than what they do on the juice. And what you're paying for is this image, this thing that's trying to make it, it's like perceived quality. Well, what the fuck is that? Why not just make it good? Who cares what the package looks like? Like that kind of thing drives me crazy. So we wanted a premium tequila at a non-premium price, and we figured out a way to do it. So that in and of itself is attractive to bartenders because, we are the educators for drinkers out there, and bartenders who care want to be serving their regulars, their friends, their family, something that they believe in. And so that was a pretty easy connection to make, especially with some of the friends that were in the places they were. They were championing our brands and putting us in contact with other people. And we also had a really good relationship with a distribution company called Young's Market. Basically, since I started running bars and doing ordering, I'd always loved them. The reps were great. We had a great relationship. And so it kind of only made sense that we would end up with them. And then there's another company, Back Bar Project. They're a supplier. I kind of describe that as like a management company. So they're the ones going to other states and helping us get into each of new state, because every state handles alcohol slightly differently. We're currently working on getting into Arizona. We are launching in New York in June. Boston, Massachusetts took us on, and we're in Boston, and they're handling that for us. So we do have nationwide distribution. We're just working on getting into these states little by little, and it's been amazing. So basically, the day after I got back from my honeymoon, we signed with our supplier and our distributor, and I stopped having to pick tequila up and deliver it myself, and I got to just go around and meet great people and educate people on agave spirits. And it's been an excuse for connection, and just to meet cool people and like-minded people, and to create and spread and grow that network of people who want to make a positive change in the world.
Yeah, love it, dude. So, with Cinco, because you guys have such this powerful, insane history and story of how it all came together. But what a lot of companies, what they miss is, as they expand and as they grow, keeping that history, keeping that story, keeping, that why all this exists in the first place, alive, right? How have you guys been able to do that? Especially now that you're, again, at Cinco, I get how that's where it all started, but when you're in Boston, man, and all these other places, what are you guys doing out there to, keep that alive and keep that same impact?
Yeah, that's a great question. Cinco is definitely like a charging station for me. Hernan's whole family is there essentially now. His cousin, two of his cousins, his brother-in-law, his sister. Slowly, the Oaxacan family is taking control of running and operating the restaurant, which is so amazing. And so to be able to come back there and see them and see that we're creating these awesome jobs for people, and that there's no glass ceiling for them, and that we could eventually open up another restaurant and they could take on, even bigger roles. That's beautiful and amazing. And it's every time I step in, I'm reminded why. How do we keep that energy going into other states? I'm still learning how to do it. It's an ongoing process, but I think the best way is just by going out there and being as honest as possible and telling them this story, what I shared with you, that, the reason why we do this is because I love my friend and I want him to be able to travel to Mexico freely one day and see his family and spend time down there and then come back to the United States. And we want to make a change in how brands are sold to us. People pay all this money to have this story created so that it's perceived in a certain way. Well, why not just show up the way you want to show up and be the story, be the change that you want to see in the world. And so we try to just be as honest and real as possible. And we organize agave workshops where my partner, HE, he is one of the owners of Back Bar, and he has partnered with this amazing family, the Cortez family, and they're importing a bunch of mezcal with them. And so we go and we teach about mezcal and sotol and tequila and why we're doing it and how it's helping the farmers and how it's enriching everybody's life. It's not just somebody up on top of on their yacht collecting all the checks. It's like, no, we're coming up together as a family and we're creating this network. And in that way, every bartender, every customer, every person that reaches for any of these products that I think I like to say that we're putting the spirit back into spirit. And there's a lot of brands out there doing it. Everybody that becomes educated about that and shares that message, makes that drink, drinks that drink, orders that drink, becomes part of the journey and part of the story. We can't do it alone. And so I think it's really just all about cultivating that community and creating the awareness of what you're drinking, right? I mean, I know one of your sponsors is a nootropic company, right? Like, we are making positive decisions in choosing to better our systems, whether it's what we're, supplements we're taking or what we're eating, what clothes we're wearing. People want to be a part of something that is more, that there's intention involved in it. They want to feel good about everything they use. And I think we're at a point in existence when we can do that. We can feel good about absolutely everything we have involved in our lives. It's the people we talk to, the food we make, the restaurants we choose to go to, the car you drive, clean energy, all of that. And I think just going out there and being your honest, true self. And, I try to follow the work of Ram Dass. He was asked to distill his life's work down into 2 sentences. And he said, I work on myself as a way to help people, and I help people as a way to work on myself. And I think that's pretty much what I try to do. My intention is always that. So every time I'm out and I'm meeting a new group of people, they're teaching me something just as much as I'm teaching them something. And my ability to connect and to share this message, and even what the message is constantly evolving and becoming better.
Yeah, love it. Powerful stuff, man. So then, as you guys keep expanding, because it comes to a point of, people, right? I mean, you've got this brilliant product, you create this, this great company. And then, of course, expansion requires a lot of delegation and all of that. Have you found, because I'm sure that you've had some amazing hires that are able to continue the culture, continue the story, and that 100%, like with every fiber, they're being believed, like you guys believe in what you're doing. But there's going to be a lot of people that may not, right? So in that hiring process, whether it be an outsourcing distributing company or somebody that's working directly for you, I mean, do you go through any type of, or have you found an effective way to go through any type of vetting process to make sure that you're getting people that align with those same values and really are able to make sure that story keeps alive?
I haven't had to do any hiring yet for Jalisco. We definitely have hired a lot of people at Cinco, and it's pretty amazing the team that we have now. They are family. It's one of my favorite things about it is that they will come up and tell us, we love working here. This is a family. It's something that I definitely have been thinking about. It's been in my awareness because our supplier has been hiring some new people, and they've done an amazing job, and they're just so in alignment with all of the values. And that's because my business partner, HE, and I are very similar in the way we think and what we want to do. And he's just good at getting to the core. But I do think that it's important to create, I was just talking today about this with a business partner. She was referring to it as a library of your values. And then my other friend who was part of the discussion and business partner was saying that maybe when we hire somebody, we should show them the library and then have them add something. And you'll be able to tell immediately whether or not they understand the meaning of the library and whether or not what they're bringing to the table is going to enrich and add to what we have growing and building out here. I think very much that, the saying that your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So thus far in this process, working with Young's Market, we go and we educate the sales staff. Well, that sales staff already existed for the Young's Market company, but now they're part of our sales staff because we've signed with them. And something that I do when I go speak with them is I make arrowhead necklaces. I'll send you one. And it started off as my Burning Man gift. These little arrowheads, and I just tie them up. And I used to think that we're reuniting the tribe, the human tribe. But now with the tequila, I call it the tequila tribe. But then on a higher purpose level, it's reuniting the human tribe and remembering that we're all one. And, forgetting about these differences and seeing past that, celebrating those differences rather than allowing them to, separate us. And through that gifting, the people that get the message, they will come to you. They will come back to you and they'll let you know, hey, this meant so much to me. I get it. And that's something that I'm definitely going to continue to work on and cultivate. I think gifting is a really powerful tool in our existence. And thus far, it's been one of the best indicators for me as to who is really understanding what we're doing and who wants to be a part, And it's not to say that those who don't respond don't get it or don't, or they're wrong. There's no such thing as right, or I don't think there's such a thing as a universal truth. I think the truth is relative to your path. And so it's pretty easy to tell who's on your path and who wants to join your path through something like that.
Yeah, love it, dude. So when you guys started this, right? Because you had investors and one thing that because when it comes to the capital and the funding, a lot of people when they're starting any type of a business, they need that investment capital. But it sounds like you guys had some great investors that truly backed your vision, and it can be, if you're not careful, right? It can be really the detriment to your business, where then it comes to not pleasing the consumer and following our vision. Now it becomes a pleasing the investors, and that's where you start taking all those shortcuts that you kind of talked about with these other tequila products, and you kind of become untrue to why you started this all in the first place. So how did you know when you came to those investors, man, can you give anybody that's in that position right now maybe some recommendations or what you guys went through to make sure that you weren't going to be forced to go down a path that wasn't congruent with what you guys wanted to do?
I think for anybody who's in the position right now of starting a business or raising money partway into a business, if you haven't already watched The Golden Circle by Simon Sinek, it's fantastic. I think it's one of the best tools out there right now. I try to watch it once a month at least. And it's all about finding your why. Why are you doing it? And you have to make sure that those investors, know that you understand why you're doing it, and that is not at question. That if they want to come be a part of it, they're buying into a part of this. They're not buying into the opportunity to make it what they want to make it. When we create our business plan, we created Class A and Class B shares, and we bought the Class A shares, and they had, I think, 5 times the voting rights. So it was pretty clear right off the get-go, like, hey, you can tell us how you feel, but we are calling the shots. Our investors for Cinco, we were lucky in that we had been bartending, and so people will tell you, hey, if you ever do your own thing, let us know. And so we had this list, and it was like, all right, it's time to start calling people on, call their bluff. And that's where it came from. So they were people that already understood and had firsthand experienced how we are in a service place, and they already had an idea of what we wanted to create. And that was really lucky. And then for our tequila, we didn't end up raising that much money, and people that approached us were investors or regulars at Cinco. And so they really came towards us, and we were obviously very fortunate in that. And again, you do need to be upfront and let them know, hey, this is our vision. We're happy to have you along for the ride, but you're coming on to be a part of this vision, not to change it.
Yep. Love it, man. So a lot of entrepreneurs that jump into a space and maybe were in management before, and whatever, because I've had jobs before I became an entrepreneur where I was like, oh dude, this owner should be doing this and this, and if I was in here, this is exactly what I'd be doing. And then became an entrepreneur. I'm like, oh, okay, now I kind of understand why they made some of the decisions that they made. What were some of the things, even with your experience before you got into Cinco, what were maybe some of the things that kind of shocked you that you weren't prepared for, outside of what you've already shared with, having to sell your Harley and maybe some of those financial struggles, but what were some other things that became some obstacles that maybe you were kind of shocking that you had to overcome?
First thing that pops into my mind was we had initially thought about being like a counter service restaurant where you would just come up, get a number, go sit down. We wouldn't have waiters. We thought it would be kind of, more casual that way. We weren't expecting to be as busy as we were. And within a day, we were like, we need to be open to rethinking this policy and like possibly having full service with waiters. And by day 2, it was like, let's hire some waiters. Let's get somebody in here. And I was out waiting tables, and we were completely changing. And I think it wasn't that we had been like, we're not ever changing our concept. This is what it is. It's always going to be that way. But really realizing how important it is to be open to evolving and changing to fit into that niche of wherever you are, whatever the industry is, whatever the business is. Like be open to the feedback, listen to it, because these are the people that are going to allow you to survive. So that's the first thing. The second thing was I was actually shocked by how willing some people were to come out and be negative. There were some people that had been in this bit of town, again, as Playa del Rey, Westchester border. It was a bit of town in Los Angeles that had kind of been left sleepy. There was a lot of aerospace technology housing there kind of back in the day. Howard Hughes had his I think he built the Spruce Goose over there down in what's now Silicon Beach. And so it was at the very beginning of this massive change, and people that had been in that town for a while literally came in and looked at me straight in the eyes and said, "You're going to fail. You don't know what you're doing here. You don't know this town." And like, have somebody put you to the test like that after, working for 7 months, pouring all of your money, everything you've ever saved up, your dreams, all of your focus, and to have them come in there and just like throw you down like that, it was a definite test. And luckily enough for me, that's always been fuel in the fire. The world giving you the "you'll see" and "just wait till you do this, you're not gonna," has always been like, "Nah, you wait, you just wait and see. I'm my own person. You don't have to project your doubts onto me." And that's always, I've fed off of that. So find ways to feed off of the adversity. Any adversity is opportunity. It's opportunity to overcome an obstacle, and every time, whether it's a internal obstacle, you're butting heads with your partner, you find a way to get past that or compromise and move forward, and you're only going to get stronger. I forget who told me this, but the hotter the fire, the stronger. You have to pass iron through fire to become steel, and the hotter the fire, the stronger the steel. So the bigger the obstacle, the more tough the adversity, the better you're going to be, the stronger you're going to be, the better your relationships are going to be within, your working environment. It's every test is opportunity.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it, dude. So, I know through, this journey, I mean, it's definitely changed the lens that you look at it, right? But before this and prior to this, I mean, have you always been this like, really driven, really positive person, to be able to create what you've created? Was it an environment that you grew up in? Were your parents entrepreneurial, supported with this kind of stuff? Or was it really just, going through that experience that you went to that led to this journey that really kind of developed that lens for you?
My parents are amazing, so loving, awesome. I wouldn't say they're entrepreneurs, although my dad is a doctor and he has a private practice. I wouldn't say that he was fostered an entrepreneurial mindset in me. From the time I was little, my parents told me when I was a baby, I was just always in awe with the world and always smiling and happy. And then to just kind of like dive into the deep end with you, when I was 12 years old, I smoked weed for the first time. And when I did, it was the first 30 minutes were like one of the funniest experiences of my life. I was walking around, I was trying to put my feet in line and walk in a straight line. And you're looking down, like point of view at your toes. And then I realized I was looking at the top of my head and I was out of my body. And I came back in, and it freaked me out, but not to the point of like terrifying me. I was just like, whoa, like, I guess that's what this drug does or whatever. And then a few weeks later, my friends were smoking again. And I thought, I felt guilty because my parents had given me the don't do drugs, lecture. And more so for my mom, I didn't want to, be a bad kid. So I decided not to. And then it happened to me again. I fired out of my body again. And I was 10 or 15 feet above us, all looking down at my group of friends. And then when I came back into my body, it was kind of like when you jerk, when you're falling asleep and you wake up, really quick, and you kick yourself awake. It was like that. And I was like, what the hell? And I just got on my skateboard. I was like, guys, I don't feel so well. I'm going to go home. And I'm skating home. And like this whole time I was like, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to go sleep. I'm going to forget about this. I'm going to feel normal again tomorrow. It's going to feel normal. But in the back of my mind, all I kept thinking was, you are not your body. You are not your body. You're not your body. Like there's something else. Like you are not just this body. It's just, so now I think of it as like a spaceship. For a long time, I really tried to not have that knowledge. And I wish I didn't have it. But after that experience, I started experiencing what I now know as empathy in a really strong way, where I could see an interaction across the room and know how somebody's feeling. And I didn't think that was unique to me. I just assumed that everybody could do it, and I didn't really talk about it much. And it just kept growing, this like desire to like, if I could feel that somebody was sad or that somebody was having a bad day, like I always wanted to try and help in any way I could. And anytime I could help, I felt better. And so I just kind of followed that, whether it was, on my soccer team and trying to like really galvanize the team and get everybody together and like have it be like a, loving, like family oriented experiences with the team. And then, or it was just my friends or whatever it was, or just a stranger. Now, that is something that my mom instilled in me. She talks to everybody and she is nice to everybody. And she's one of the nicest people in the world. And I always noticed how people responded to that. And I wanted to foster that as well.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, man, I mean, out of that second experience, I mean, is that something that's just kind of continued with you? Have you had more of those experiences since?
I haven't gone like fired out of my body like that on sober ever again. I've gone on a lot of different psychedelic trips. I think plant medicines are one of the most powerful tools that we have here with us in this existence to grow and learn and heal. My family suffers from like clinical depression. My dad gets it. My sister gets it. My cousins, all that. I just refused to ever take Western medicine for it. From the time I was a little kid, I just wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't tell people about my feelings. I would just kind of keep it to myself because I didn't want to go there. And now, really within the past, I'm 35 now, I guess, really started stepping into like, hey, I want to heal this, and having kind of another massive awakening right after we opened Cinco. Opening Cinco was just another massive shift for me because I thought, hey, as soon as we get Cinco open, like I'm going to be satisfied. Like it's it. We're going to get it. We're going to do it. And then I'm not going to have this burning desire. And then as much as like Cinco has brought me everything and I love it, but I have in my journal right here, still no satisfaction with an exclamation point. And it was kind of like, what the fuck, man? Like what makes you satisfied? Like, when do you find this happiness? Are you ever really there in this place? And I started really doing some soul searching and getting into reading Osho and Rumi. And then somebody brought me Many Lives, Many Masters. And I had already pretty much believed in reincarnation because of meeting somebody who believed they were a reincarnated victim of Nazi Germany, which is a long story, but amazing. But, and I started really diving into it and getting more into spirituality. Went to Burning Man for the first time in 2013. And I started just saying yes to everything. I felt like I had lived a lot of my life holding on to it a little bit. Like anytime I think about it, I think of like, I get this feeling like I was holding back a little bit. I wasn't letting my light just shine. And so I said yes to everything and just started really expanding and putting myself out there. And my wife, I met her at Cinco. We kind of went on this journey together. She was my first employee. She came to the door when we were in construction, and I was like, "You're hired. I don't have a job for you or any money to pay you, or I don't know when we're going to open, but you're hired." So we really started expanding together too. Meeting Michael Sanders was another massive shift. Meeting all of my, soul brothers, from whether we're part of a star collective or however, we've had thousands of lives together, however you want to look at it or refer to it. There was just something obvious that was much deeper and more profound than anything I could really understand. And now I know you don't really even need to understand it. You can just enjoy it and have fun and know that it's there and it exists. But yeah, we've been on some pretty fun and expansive journeys together. And it's helping create and grow this network of people that want to manifest a new world, a better place for the future.
Yeah, 100%, man. Love it, dude. I love that you brought it up of now I've realized I don't need to understand it. I was watching I don't know, a YouTube video of Neil deGrasse Tyson recently.
Uh-huh.
The universe does not owe us an explanation.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody tries to go out there and they search their whole. I mean, how many? Stories and stories and stories. We heard of thousands and thousands of years of documentation where people are just seeking for that like, what's the purpose of life and what's the purpose? And it's, again, dude. And I think once you get to that point of just that acceptance and that you don't need to know, you don't need to understand it, man. It totally just creates a whole new freedom, inside your just mentally, physically, whatever. It becomes really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like as soon as you accept that we're never going to know everything, we're never going to have all the answers, there's a certain peace that comes on you, and some of the answers start to trickle in. Some of the knowledge starts to filter through that acceptance that you're just not going to know it all.
Yep. 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 Yeah. And then you just get so, I don't know if you found this to be true, but it just becomes, I mean, it just levels up the point of view becoming that much more hardcore of a student. You know, your thirst then just for knowledge and information and also just open-mindedness, right? It just expands tremendously.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, just the desire to keep learning. I mean, I'm a far better student now than I ever was in any of, the institutions that I studied at. And it's because everything I'm reading, I genuinely want to know. I want to be able to share it, whether it's like learning about chakras or vibration or, physicist perception of time or, all of these really cool quantum ideas that exist out there. It's so fun to learn and to just keep learning.
Yeah.
I think I just read a quote from Einstein. It was like, it's the minute you stop learning, you start dying.
Yep. Yep. Love it, man. Love it, dude. So, not that you'd want to go back and change anything, right? Because I mean, everything's really, been in place for a reason to lead you to where you're at. But just kind of, I don't know, just if you could go back, knowing everything you know now, going through your journey, having all the knowledge, all the information that you know now today, if you could go back to yourself when this whole journey started and give yourself two pieces of advice that you feel like would have dramatically helped you create all this, maybe that much quicker and you could be that much further ahead, what would those two pieces of advice look like?
I think I would say you don't have to take it so seriously, and follow your heart.
Yeah.
Because anytime when I look back and first of all, that's a problem with me. It's a past pattern for me. Looking back and overanalyzing, that's where you get into those depressive, like tough states where you're like overanalyzing yourself, an idiot, you shouldn't have done this, you should have known, and living in the past. And my wife was the first person to ever say, oh, you live in the past. I didn't know what that meant. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you're actually spending your conscious time right now thinking about something that you can't change. You're wasting your time. And she was like 22 when she said that. And I was thinking I'm like older and, I'm wise and this, and she walked away. She was working and I'm like making drinks. I'm like, fuck, she's right. So yeah, I mean, you're not taking it so seriously and following your heart. Because anytime I made those wrong decisions, I had that feeling in my chest of like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel right. Or, I knew what I really wanted to be doing. It's look at the people. If I had any advice to give somebody else, who's maybe at that stage where they're trying to figure out what they want to do, write down a list of the people that inspire you. And if that's how you want to show up in the world, then you just start doing it. You take that first step, because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And it's not like nobody in this world is superhuman or special. They just started doing it. And the minute you start doing it, you are it, nobody's figured it out. Nobody has it 100% down. Nobody's perfect. So I would say if you love photography and, you think that people who are professional photographers have the life, then buy a camera, start talking to photographers, start shooting photos, just start doing it and watch where the journey takes you, and do it now, because what are you waiting for? This is it. Do it, Another one of our mantras for the tequila is siempre ve, which means always go. It was something that when I started saying yes to everything, it was siempre ve. I actually just found it written in this journal right here. And my whole thought process was like, for so long in my 20s, all we did was save money, bartend, save money. I felt bad, spending money. And so I kind of held back to create this thing. And then we had it created. It was like, well, now I'm just going to go and do it all. And I realized that I never really regret having gone, but I'd regret not having gone. So if somebody asks you to go do something, say yes. Try saying yes to everything for like a week or a month, and just see what happens. See what you end up getting into. It's pretty freaking amazing. The connections that end up coming out of just every little thing. But it's like, go do it. Go skinny dipping. Tell that girl you love her, follow your dreams. Do it now because you can. Because we're here. That's what life's all about, is like creating and exploring and it just like being in the wonder of existence. Like every day is your opportunity to be exactly who you want to be, to start following your dreams. Like there's nothing holding any of us back. I was holding myself back in these like chains that were all self-imposed.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had a guest on earlier that, dropped a Mark Twain quote, which was something like, in 20 years from now, you're not going to regret the things you did do. You're going to regret the things you didn't do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's so
Do
powerful.
it.
So, Blake, like, where's the best place, man? If people want to connect with you, they want to follow your journey, follow this growth. I don't know if you have a place where it has a list of the areas where they can go, and the cities that you're in, go try your tequila. Like what's the best place for our listeners to go do that?
Our website is being updated right now, which is going to be anjalisco.com, and we'll have that information. But Facebook, I keep updating the list of where you can find us. Our Instagram, I do the Instagram right now. It's not that great, but I'm doing my best. But you can easily connect to me on there. If you shoot me a direct message, I always get back to everybody. I'm happy to, if you say, hey, I'm in San Diego, where can I go? Or I'm in LA. Happy to get right back to you. And that's just Anjalisco Tequila is the Instagram handle. Also, my email's really easy to remember, blake@anjaliscotequila.com. So I love hearing from people and happy to talk about anything from, distillation, tequila making, cocktails, to psychedelics and love and, the infinite human potential.
Yeah, no, awesome. Love it, man. Love it. And those watching and listening to you guys, I know I interview podcasts with this, but information without implementation truly is just the start of delusion. Information is no longer power. It's taking that information and taking action on it. Like as Blake said, just go, right? So take action on it so you can create that life you know you want and deserve. And we'll make it really easy on you guys right below, whether you're watching on YouTube, on the website, or on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you're at. We'll have links so you can connect with Blake and on social media, his email below. So make sure to reach out and, follow this epic, amazing journey. And Blake, man, I know how busy you are, bro, and it truly means a lot to you that you took time out of your busy day to be here, man. It's been an honor. Yeah, the pleasure was all mine, brother. Seriously, it was amazing talking with you. And thanks for having me on the show. Again, thank you to all the listeners. And if you're in LA any listeners ever in LA, please come to Cinco, hit me up. I live close. I'm happy to stop in and say what's up. And yeah, we can have a drink and talk and catch up, brother. Yeah, 100%. We'll make it happen, man. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for watching and listening. Blake, again, thank you, brother. Truly appreciate it. Thank you. Cheers.